So we began talking about this point of attraction, reaching for different things to call it. For a while we called it the grid. No one really liked that word, the grid. But the grid is sort of a framework that will be filled in later with the details that you will call real life reality. It's sort of like the frame of the house before you put the roof on, before you put the walls up, before you put the pretty stuff in it. So your point of attraction, you're standing in your point of attraction all the time. Now we've evolved this analogy to say to you that this grid is spinning because your point of attraction is gathering cooperative components, meaning gathering the components that equal who you are, and that there is a vibrational spinning grid that you could liken to the emotions on your emotional scale. In other words, there's that high-flying grid that feels like love and passion, eagerness. And there's that low-flying grid that feels like despair, grief, fear. And then there's the overwhelming grid. It occurred to Esther the other day that it's like the 7 dwarfs. There's happy and grumpy, dysfunctional, passive aggressive. We're up to about 200 dwarfs now. But you know which grid you are. You know where you are. If ornery people seem to be everywhere you go, you just kind of got to admit that you're on the ornery disc. And you're having the ornery meeting with those others who have gathered there. And so getting back to something that we were saying earlier today about you looking for the validation from others. If you're on the overwhelmed or the ornery disc and your partner, someone you care about, your 2-year-old, your friend is on the high-flying disc, for you to have a meaningful conversation, one of two things has to happen. Either you have to join them on their disc or they have to join you on yours. And as you've been moving around this physical world, who's ever got the most momentum going is the one who gets to dictate where the rendezvous takes place. Some of you have become smart enough to just walk away. You can feel you're being sucked to a place you don't want to go. And so you say, be right back. And then you don't come back. Gotta go, talk to you in a little bit. Whoosh, off you go. But if you're the one on the ornery disc, you're digging in, aren't you? You're digging in with more information because it seems to feel important that someone join you. And we just want to say to you that really you want to join that high-flying source energy part of you. That's really what you're looking for. You're looking for that alignment. You're looking for the resonance of clarity. You're looking for the resonance of knowing. You're looking for the resonance of fun and good timing and agility and flexibility. You're looking for all of that. And you find that, you realize that from the high-flying disc. So we're going to be talking here today about what you've got going on. You've got some habits of thought that aren't serving you. You've got some habits of thought that are serving you. You've got some dormant beliefs that don't affect you very often, but every now and again, one of them is activated by something you see or something that you hear, and then it begins to affect you for a little while. And we really want to call your attention to this really important thing, and that is your point of attraction is now. It's right now. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It only matters what you're doing vibrationally now. And you can get so that what happened yesterday doesn't affect what you're offering vibrationally now, but you've got to understand just a handful of things, and we'll be talking about them all day here. You've got to understand that you are a vibrational being emanating a signal, and you've got to understand that your thoughts are the reason for that signal, what you focus upon, and you got to understand that the way you feel is an indication of how that blends with who you really are and what you really want. But most of all, we want you to leave this gathering knowing for sure that you can manage to have control over what disc you are on. So, we've been talking to you for years about how you create your own reality and how you create through the thoughts that you think. And we've watched you in various phases of your coming to understand this and apply it to your experience. We watched you go through the phase of, I create my own reality. That's just the best news ever. Into the, I create my own reality. How in the world do I do that? Into the, cancel. Suck that thought back before the universe gets hold of it and brings me a manifestation. And we want you to understand that it isn't the controlling of your thoughts that we are wanting to inspire within you today, because that's really a hard thing. There's so many thoughts. What we want to inspire you to is an early and easy awakening to the high-flying disc. Before you leave this room today, we want you to feel as sure as we are about you that you have the ability to get on it and to maintain it mostly. We want to help you push the reset button. We want you to feel the power of your own point of attraction. We want you to feel the control that you have of your own point of attraction. And so we want to say something strong here. We are going to push this reset button today. It's our promise that you're going to get this because we know it so powerfully and you're willing to listen. And in the hours that we are together, you will find resonance with your point of power. But we want you to know that it only lasts a day, because tomorrow you have to get on that high-flying disc again. And the next day, you want to get on that high-flying disc again. And we want to say to you that you were born on it. How do I get on the high-flying disc? Well, you were born there. I know, but that was a long time ago. Now how do I get on it? Well, you have the potential of being on it every morning unless you remember something unpleasant from yesterday. In other words, when you wake up, what disc do you jump on? Oh yeah, I got to go to work. Yeah. Going to be a lot of traffic today. Better hurry. Oh, it's going to be hot again today. Or maybe you wake up into a household full of confusion and you just want to pull the pillow over your head and not get up. We want you, before you go to bed or before you go to sleep, to prepave your morning and say to yourself, in the morning, I'm going to wake up on the high-flying disc and I'm going to acknowledge that I'm there and I'm going to milk it as best I can. Now, you might not make it till breakfast. You might not even make it till you get out of bed. Esther has begun saying, she's been doing this for about 6 weeks now. And after about day 20, it became really, really easy to do. And she began saying to herself, oh, I'm awake. A startling and profound announcement to herself. I'm awake. For a while she'd say, damn, I'm awake. I'm awake. I'm awake. Am I going to go back to sleep? Because sometimes she has the luxury of doing that. Or am I going to get up? Now, this was an important thing for her to acknowledge, because if she's going to go back to sleep, she doesn't want any thoughts to get going except thoughts of slumber. But if she's going to get up, she wants to make sure that the thoughts that she's thinking are thoughts that will be valuable to her. She wants to make sure that they are high-flying thoughts. And so usually she begins with some strong statement of appreciation of something that's very easy for her to appreciate. It doesn't take much. It only takes 17 seconds in order to begin your day. You've been saying for a long time, or maybe they've been saying for a long time before you got here, or maybe none of you have ever said this before in your life. Getting out of bed on the right side, or getting off on the right foot. That's what we're really talking about. Establishing your vibrational point of attraction first. Because we want you to understand that if you choose it first, it's so easy to get that positive momentum going. But if you wait until you've, without meaning to, by default, picked up and carried over some negative momentum, then it's harder for you to shift from that negative momentum. We like the analogy. Esther remembers so vividly her first seeing of the streets of San Francisco. She could not believe it. Standing there in real life person at the top of that hill and realizing that cars actually drove down and up those hills. She couldn't believe it. She thought it was madness. Imagine your car's at the top of one of those hills, your parking brake is off, your car is out of gear, and just for fun you decide to teach yourself a lesson about momentum. So you nudge your car from the rear, and then you realize that it's beginning to move, but you catch it in the early stage because you were not really wanting to teach yourself the whole lesson, just a little bit of the lesson, and you step right out in front of the car and it bumps up against you and it stops because the momentum was so slight that it did not take much to slow that momentum. But can you imagine what it would be like? Don't try too hard to be at the bottom of that hill stopping that momentum. That momentum would carry you into unwanted experience. And that really is what we want to talk about, momentum, because law of attraction is the perpetuator of momentum. But you get to choose the direction of your momentum. And most of you are not doing that deliberately. You're just letting conditions that surround you that you might be observing be the reason for the momentum getting going. And then law of attraction just keeps it going until you hear someone like us say you create your own reality, and you say, that can't be true. If I really got to create my own reality, I would create a different reality, Abraham. And we say, you may very well want to create a different reality, and you absolutely have the ability to do it, because there is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. You have the ability to get the momentum going. You have the ability to keep the momentum going. You have the ability to know when the momentum is in the direction that you don't want. You have the ability to slow unwanted momentum. You have the ability to speed wanted momentum. You have the ability to do all of it. You've just got to understand how you do it. And you have to understand momentum. We think you understand momentum, don't you? Have you ever sort of been a little ornery and made a comment and someone picked right up on it? Someone on the ornery disc with you. And then off you go. Now you're remembering things you haven't remembered in a long time. You're telling stories that you haven't told in a very long time. And this person is extracting stories from their past and now you've got a really good ornery meeting going. Could really feel the momentum of it. And then what happens when some bright-eyed, shiny person comes into the room and you've got that kind of momentum going? They either get sucked in with you, depending upon how stable they are in their own vibration, or they bounce right off of you, depending upon what they've got going. And that's what we are wanting you to do. We're wanting you to prepare yourself by getting on the high-flying disc and staying there and practicing it more throughout the day, and then recognizing the power of the momentum that you have going. Once you get some of that momentum going, you're going to begin to notice the ramifications of momentum. And those ramifications are what you want to call materialization. You want to call it manifestation. We like calling it actualization or demonstration. So what happens when you get a really good momentum going is that the first thing that happens is you experience the manifestation of emotion. And we want to call emotion a manifestation because does it get any realer than feeling? When you get that feeling, isn't it real? Isn't it up close and personal kind of real? That's a manifestation. It's a manifestation of momentum. And you can tell by the way you feel whether it's momentum leading to something you want or leading to something you don't want. The next thing that happens is thoughts begin to flow. That's the next thing. Now, really what happened is the thought came first and the emotion came second. But we wanted to call the emotion the first awareness of manifestation. We think it will serve you if you realize that when you are feeling an emotion, that it is a demonstration of the beginning of things materializing. Because the emotion has materialized. The next thing that happens is thoughts begin to flow into your mind. Thoughts, a stream of thoughts. You're likely to get a really good idea about something. And you'll know it's a really good idea because it feels good when it comes. Now, depending upon what disc you're on and what kind of momentum you're gathering will depend upon how good or how bad the thought feels. The next thing that happens when you're on this high-flying disc is that nature begins playing with you. Nature plays with you.